Welcome to the Hiring Students for Your Department online presentation, brought to you by Do It Training. For this e-learning module, consider blocking out 30 minutes of your time. There are 4 test questions at the end to drive home the points to remember. Take your time and take notes. You can pause the video by pressing the spacebar or tapping your mobile device screen. All step-by-step help guides, job aids, and answers to many questions can be found on the Do It website. To become a Student Employment Coordinator, or SEC, your supervisor makes the request to HR. Once the request is granted, the SEC receives training and a link to the training materials for self-guided help. Review these materials until you've become familiar with the system. Also, SECs should read the supervisor guides provided by the Career Center. After you have reviewed the training materials, you will be given access to the student payroll system in Solar. To access it, log into Solar by going to stonybrook.edu/solar and then log in with your Stony Brook ID number and password. You will see 2 new areas on the Solar homepage: Manage Student Workforce and Student Timesheets. The role of SEC allows you to create and update job assignments, appoint students into job assignments and make sure they are cleared to work, approve student timesheets, print reports like what timesheets need approval or a roster of student workers in the department, and extend or terminate appointments. What is the department ID? The department ID is needed for every SEC transaction in Solar. This is also your main state budget account. Salaries are paid out of account codes that belong to the department ID. If you don't know your department ID, ask your department administrator or budget coordinator. If you know an account code, you can find the department ID it belongs to by clicking on Find Department ID from Account Code in Solar. Or you can click on Department Assignments and hit the Enter key on your keyboard to list all the departments with codes. Be sure to click View All to list all records. Creating a job assignment from a copy. To create a job assignment, you will always make a copy from an existing assignment. You never start from scratch. If you don't have one to copy, one can be created for you. To create one from a copy, click on Department Assignments, enter your department ID, and click Search. Click either Active or Inactive. Click Copy and then add the number of job assignments you'd like to create. Click on Home to list all of your department assignments. Finally, choose from one of the empty assignments to update it. Once you have created a copy of an old assignment, you can update the new job assignment to fit your department's needs. You can edit most of the fields when updating vacant job assignments. Let's talk about the 5 fields you'll want to check or update before clearing a student into the job assignment. Account number. This is the account that pays the salary for this job assignment. It must be 8 digits. There are 2 choices for job codes when you click the magnifying glass. Choose either Federal Work Study, which is 1721, or Student Assistant, which is 1971. Explained later on this module, Federal Work Study funds come out of the Student Federal Work Study Award, while Student Assistant funds come out of your department's budget. Authorizers, or rather timesheet authorizers, are the EMPL IDs of staff members who will be approving students' time in Solar. You must have at least 2 people listed. The mail drop is your department. Be sure to enter the correct mail drop. Click on the magnifying glass to see a list of choices. The incumbent EMPL ID. This field should remain empty. Do not enter a student's ID number into the field to fill the job. Students must be cleared first. This is explained later on in the module. Let's talk about job codes. When creating or rather updating an assignment, it is required to select one of two job codes, 1971 for student assistant and 1721 for federal work study. Selecting the student assistant job code means that 100% of the student's salary for this position is paid out of your department's budget account. Selecting the federal work study job code means that 100% of the student's salary will come out of the student's financial aid award and departments are not liable. Please note that the system will not allow you to appoint a student into a federal work study assignment unless the student has a sufficient financial aid award. Please note that while the system does not restrict it, it is very important to have at least two timesheet authorizers to back each other up in case someone is out. Timesheets need to be approved on schedule in order for the students to receive a paycheck. Finding and clearing students to work for your department. You can advertise your job assignment to students by posting it in Stony Brook Student Job Portal, Handshake. You can request access to Handshake from the Career Center. Once your job is posted, students can perform job searches and submit resumes or contact the department to arrange interviews. Next, the department can interview and select the desired candidate. Before the student can start working for you, you must check to see if the student is cleared to work. The system will determine if the student has all the documentation and is in good standing to work. If errors appear when clearing a student, the student must reconcile them before the system will allow you to appoint him or her. Otherwise, if the student is cleared to work, then you can click the link provided to appoint the student into the job assignment. Here is a comparison of students side by side. On the left, the student cannot be appointed into an assignment. On the right, the student is cleared and the system provides a link to appoint the student. To clear a student, click on SA FWS Clearance and then enter the student's EMPL ID. Choose the correct term code and then review the comments on the bottom of the screen. This student is not eligible to work for us now. Let's try another student. Here you can see that when you have a student that is eligible to work, the system provides a link to appoint the student. Enter in your department ID. This is the list of your vacant assignments that you created previously. Click Appoint to enter the student. Notice the incumbent EMPL ID field has been populated with the student's ID number. Make sure the fields are correct and then click Save. Stop. It is very important for students not to work for your department unless they are cleared and entered into the system. There can be a liability or penalization to both student and Stony Brook. Wait, what are term codes? Term codes tell the system what term or semester you are hiring the student. It is important to select the correct term code so that the start date and end date of the assignment are correct, and so the student can enter hours on their timesheet and receive a paycheck. The term code is always 4 digits. The first digit is always a 1. The next 2 is for the year. The last denotes the semester. A good way to remember it is thinking of 4 for April, a month in spring, 6 for June, a month in summer, 8 for as close as we can get to fall. It's not a perfect system. Let's discuss the warnings and errors you might see when clearing a student. There are 3 types of comments you will see when clearing students: warnings, errors, and the message ready to be hired. The appoint link will appear anytime the message ready to be hired is posted. Warnings do not prevent you from appointing the student. You will see the appoint link as long as there are no errors. Errors mean the student cannot be cleared at this time. Students must reconcile their own clearance issues before the system will allow you to hire them. Some examples of errors are missing Social Security number, not authorized to work due to visa and immigration issues, federal work study award is exhausted, ineligibility, withdrew from the university, or is not matriculated. Warnings usually consist of I-9 issues. Also, SECs may take the Human Resources I-9 workshop to learn more. Please note, a student is not eligible for employment under the Federal Work Study or Student Assistant Program unless they have a valid Social Security number. If a student has recently received a valid Social Security number, the student needs to go to the registrar's office to update their record. If the student is an international student, please refer the student to Visa and Immigration Services for assistance. While the students can be appointed with warnings, they must attend to them to maintain employment. Forms must be submitted to state appointments within 3 days of hire, or the students will be terminated. Email reminders are sent out to supervisors if they have not been received before students enter their first timesheet in Solar. Authorized signatory will be notified if there are any errors on the I-9 form. All errors must be corrected before the form can be processed. An updated I-9 form is also necessary if the employee has not been on the payroll for more than 1 year. You will not see this on the clearance page, but you will receive an email from HR Student Employment to remind you that a new I-9 form needs to be completed. Let's talk about student hours and the work week. Notice that student assistants can only work up to 29 hours for all terms. International student assistants may work up to 20 hours during fall and spring, but may work up to 29 hours during summer. Federal work-study students may work up to 40 hours during any term. Students fill out their timesheets every day in Solar. Then, according to the payroll schedule in Solar, SECs must approve the timesheets by the Friday, 5 p.m. deadline. If timesheets are not approved by this deadline, students will not receive a paycheck until after the timesheet is approved. You can view the payroll schedule in Solar. This will tell you when the student work week starts and ends and the deadline for the timesheet approval. Remember, if a student's timesheet is not approved by the deadline, the student will not receive a paycheck. What if federal work-study runs out, or there are no funds left in an account that pays the student's salary? Supervisors must be aware of their student's federal work-study balance at all times. This balance can be found on the clearance page, the federal work-study balance page, and on the roster that comes with student paychecks. Also, SECs and students will receive an email if the balance drops below $250. Students will receive an error when logging in hours that exceed this balance. If they are going to continue to work and have no funds left, you must terminate the current assignment and appoint them into a new student assistant assignment. When the account the student is paid out of is exhausted, whether that be the department's budget account or a student's federal work-study award, you'll need to terminate the assignment and create a new one, then clear and appoint the student into the new assignment. Please note, it is important to terminate the old assignment so that students do not log hours on a job assignment with an exhausted account or job code. To terminate an appointment before the end date, indicate the last day worked on the End Student Assignment page. The student will not be able to log in hours beyond this new end date. Otherwise, the automatic end date for fall to spring assignments is mid-May on a Wednesday. Check the payroll period schedule to confirm the correct date. Other things an SEC can do. SECs may extend the end date of a student's job assignment into the next term. You may extend a spring end date through to the summer term and likewise a summer end date to fall. Extensions must be completed after May 1st for summer and August 1st for fall. Please note, changes will appear the following day in Solar and in the end date field. When updating vacant assignments that do not have students appointed to them, you may fill in any field except incumbent EMPL ID. Remember, you must clear the student first. You cannot manually add the student here. For assignments that are filled, you may only update the timesheet authorizers, skills, and description fields. For mail drop and hourly rate changes, contact the student payroll department. And for account number or job code changes, terminate the assignment and appoint the student into a new one. There are several reports and rosters that SECs may draw from Solar about their student workforce, like a list of all student employees, paid timesheets, unapproved timesheets, and a timesheet history. Check out the job aids on the Do It website to learn more about what reports are available. You may see old job assignments when viewing your department's list of assignments, even after the end date in the active list. They will be moved to the inactive list the following fall. Student paychecks. Paychecks are picked up by an authorized signatory on payday. Make sure all students know where to pick up their paychecks in your department. Have students sign the check roster that is distributed with the paychecks and keep it for your records. If a student does not pick it up, you can mail undergraduate federal work study or student assistant paychecks. Please note, you may not mail teacher assistant or graduate assistant paychecks. There are several reasons a student did not receive a paycheck. Students will be paid on the following payday if the student did not input their hours on time, the supervisor did not approve the timesheet before the deadline, the student works in more than one department, and the check is sent to the first department in which the student began working. If a student loses their paycheck, the student will need to fill out a lost paycheck form on the HRS site or go to HRS room 390 in the administration building. Replacements take 4 to 6 weeks. The student will be contacted when the replacement check is available, and he or she must bring their ID. But why risk it? Encourage them to sign up for direct deposit today. For help and questions, contact Human Resources Payroll Student Services at extension 26388. Contact state appointments at extension 26195 for I-9 issues. Also, check out the HR Student Employee website for information on benefits, direct deposit, and how to request to be a student employment coordinator. To find this tutorial, print out the slides, and review the job aids, go to go.stonybrook.edu/hiring students. This concludes the video portion of our learning module for hiring students for your department.